All right. We're gonna make sure we got everything going here. Okay, cool. Hopefully, hopefully this stream it'll actually save my stream instead of well, I clicked the save box, so well, we're gonna see how this goes. Um, man, I'm kind of nervous, huh? Okay. Hi, my name is Elijah Lothamer. I am a filmmaker and just somebody who likes to talk about films. I really do have a passion for this stuff. I also have a passion for politics and the state of the world right now. I have a lot to say about it. I think I at least have a lot that I think about it. We'll see how good I am at saying it. Um, but I think a lot of a lot of society is reflected back at us through our pop culture, which includes filmmaking. So I have a very extreme interest in talking about the latest film news. And what's going on in the world of film, because I do think it has a pretty severe impact on our on our culture as Americans, and I will be focusing primarily on American stuff. Although I guess the first story I'm going to be talking about is not American, so that's really fun. Um, but I just just to get it out there, a little bit of what I do, what I'm interested in talking about. I just I find this stuff really interesting, and I hope that. I hope that people find the things I have to say interesting. But yeah, so I hope to make streaming, talk about this stuff a regular occurrence in my life. So to to get us started here, I would like to talk about or start talking about the first thing I would like to talk about, which is Daniel Craig, the actor who plays James Bond. He's played James Bond for quite a few films now, ever since, I want to say, 2006. He did Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, Spectre, and now No Time to Die. So that is 5 Bond films. He's been Bond for a bit now. I'm pretty sure for like the last 3 Bond films, he's pretty much said that he's done for like the last 3 movies that he's done playing Bond. But he's still doing it. So, well, this will be his last one. But recently, there's been a lot of speculation about who is going to be the next Bond. There's people have been throwing around names like Tom Holland. I think Phoebe Waller-Bridge was thrown around. She wrote Fleabag, the show on Amazon, and I saw an Onion article that said Wallace Shawn should be Bond, which, if you don't know Wallace Shawn, he's like the inconceivable, that guy from The Princess Bride, which honestly, that's the one I would support. I think Wallace Shawn would be the perfect Bond. I think he has just the right amount of that British swagger to pull off the role. So, anyways, to get back on track, Daniel Craig has talked about, he's put his 2 cents in on who should be playing Bond next. Somebody asked him about that subject, and he had something specific to say about the idea of a woman playing James Bond. Although I guess they wouldn't be James Bond, they would just be carrying the 007 title. They would probably have a different name. Especially because in this most recent movie, there is a character played by actress, I think it's like, her name is Natasha Lynch, I want to see. Should be on here. Natasha Lynch. Something. I don't know. But there's, I know that a plot point in this most recent Bond movie that's going to be coming out, the upcoming Bond movie, I should say, is that the 007 title is taken, or not taken, it's it's carried on by a woman in the movie. Although I don't think that future movies will necessarily be following her character, but in the canon of this Bond universe, she will be the new 007. As far as who plays the 007 in future films, we'll see. But here, so I've got an article here from Radio Times. It says Daniel Craig addresses whether new James Bond should be a woman. So let's see what he has to say. Believe it or not, and we probably won't believe it until we are sitting in the cinema watching it, Bond movie No Time to Die is finally being released later this month. And this is a big one, as it also sparks the final farewell for Daniel Craig in the role after 5 movies playing the suave spy. And of course, the chatter who will be next to take on the iconic 007 role has begun, and we have even seen Craig's swan song. Speculation has been rife over who will take over as far back as the release of Spectre, possibly even earlier. I remember around the time that Spectre came out, a lot of people were campaigning for Idris Elba to take over the role. I think now Idris Elba might be sadly a little too old to take over the role now. Which, is unfortunate, but I don't even think Daniel Craig's that old. And even he's like, dude, this is fucking, wearing on my body. So, it's intense shit. And we also saw that with Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman, obviously he didn't play Bond, but, he's a really in shape guy. And I mean, middle age, but by the time Logan came out, he'd been playing Wolverine for so long. And I remember one of his, his things for why he was not wanting to play Wolverine anymore was because, that workout schedule gets fucking it's tough, dude. So many hours are spent at the gym. And he was talking about, he was missing his kids growing up because he was at the gym, having to stay in shape. And it's even doubly so for, women in the industry. There's what's her name? It's not Gillian Jacobs. I always want to call her Gillian Jacobs. It's the actress who plays Nebula in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I forget her name. What is it? It's Gillian something. Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's see what her name is. But I know that she was talking about how Karen Gillan. Why do I want to say Gillian? I guess Gillian, yeah. She was talking about for the Jumanji movies, the newest ones with Kevin Hart and The Rock, how that schedule of keeping her body in that shape is grueling. It's a lot, especially because in that role she has to her body is on display. So it's in this industry, you gotta, it's a tough weight to carry in terms of that balance between work life and the expectations put on people and and their bodies, especially as they get older, because it's a rough one. Anyways. But while we do not know who the producers are eyeing up next, there are people out there who want to see a woman in the role. And while a woman would easily be able to deliver the type of performance required for Bond, it remains a hot topic, with others adamant that the character should stay male. Craig himself has an opinion on the matter too. The actor spoke to Radio Times print magazine, weighing in with his own thoughts on a female 007 following in his footsteps and getting behind the wheel of the Aston Martin. And while Craig does not think this particular role should be given to a woman, he does think that women and people of color should be offered roles of this caliber. The answer to that is very simple, he said. There should simply be better parts for women and actors of color. Why should a woman play James Bond when there should be a part just as good as James Bond, but for a woman? Though Bond is very much a man for now, the No Time to Die did bring more women on board, both in front and behind of the camera. Lashana Lynch. I always want to say Natasha. Okay, Lashana Lynch joined the cast as an agent heavily rumored to be taking the 007 code name. And Fleabag's Phoebe Waller-Bridge came aboard to lend a hand in the scripting process. Okay, so she helped write the script. She didn't actually come. I guess maybe people are eyeing her to play Bond. I think she'd be a cool Bond. With Craig revealing she was the perfect fit. She's got devilish humor. Her influence permeates a lot of this film, and she walked that fantastic line of keeping it as a thriller and being very funny. But Phoebe didn't come in to change Bond. She came in to spice it up for sure, but she's a Bond fan. She wasn't about to take him in a different direction. Okay. So I don't really think that Daniel Craig's take here is like too controversial. I don't think most people do. I mean, people have been like talking about it, but I don't think anybody's been like hardcore pissed at him, which is, that's good. But as far as like his take of like if like, a woman should be able to play Bond, but rather he would like to see more roles like Bond, of the caliber of Bond, offered to women than just women taking over the role of Bond. I feel like this is something that's been kind of being said for, at least a few years in the industry. There was, a lot of this type of debate around that Ghostbusters movie that came out, like, in 2016 with like Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy and stuff, where it was like on top of, so there was a few things going into that movie. First, at the time, the internet was a very, very different place, prominent on YouTube and maybe on Twitch. I don't know how big Twitch was at the time. Were more like YouTube skeptics. So already, the female Ghostbusters was being shit on a lot more than it deserved. But also, it had the unfortunate fate of being a bad movie, just regardless of anything, just like not very good. I actually thought it was okay, but like everybody kind of hated it. So I thought it was like most Hollywood comedies, just okay, But anyways, yeah, there was nothing really like offensively bad about the humor in the movie, I thought. But yeah, we saw a lot of, similar debates circling around that movie as well, where it's like, okay, why do we need to take roles that were, popularized in media by men and, essentially by, cishet white men, and, essentially just like keep regurgitating them for, people of color and women, when we could literally just write original characters and have them play them. And there's some complicated reasoning behind that. The first one is that in today's climate in Hollywood, people aren't really interested in original characters and original stories, really. People mostly want to see adaptations of shit they already know. That's why superheroes, the Marvel movies and stuff like that, that's why they're so big. People don't want to see, like, if you were to come out with, like, I guess the female version of James Bond, it would have to be like an adaptation of a book that's already like really big. And I don't know a book or any sort of comic series of, a Lady James Bond or something similar that could be adapted that would be as big. So if you want roles of similar caliber, then yeah, you might have to actually, you might have to have, essentially this role be reimagined for, either a POC, a woman, anybody. That's, the unfortunate thing about, the age we're in with Hollywood is, people aren't really super interested in seeing new shit, right? So, like, we are getting a little bit more diversity, which is nice. I saw one argument on online for like, about this stuff where somebody was saying like, studios think that it's a huge gamble to have like people of color or women leading their movies. That's not true. Stu- like a few years ago is true, but ever since like Black Panther, Captain Marvel, various other films, there have been plenty of movies that have shown that people of color and women can lead films. The problem isn't that. The problem is lack of originality in Hollywood, right? So I don't think that studios are necessarily scared about that. Granted, one group I don't think studios would feel comfortable is I don't think like a trans person could ever lead like a superhero movie or a Star Wars movie or anything like that. Obviously, not that I like personally believe that they shouldn't. I definitely think they should, but I think that that's not as marketable. We still need to get to that point, right? But as far as like women leading it, like, yeah, I mean, we've been getting, granted, they're all like very attractive white women for the most part, that have been like leading these films, but we've been getting that more and more. So I think it's a little disingenuous to be like, Hollywood doesn't want to take a chance on women. Yeah, they will. I mean, as long as you're, like white and digestible, I guess, whatever. But yeah, so I guess like he's right in that, people of color and women should be getting their own original roles. And like we are seeing a little bit of that on like streaming services. So like a funny example of this is like we all know the movie John Wick, right? John Wick is Keanu Reeves. It's a really great action movie. I've seen the first two. I really enjoyed them. I still need to see the third one. I thought the world in them was really cool, and I think like John Wick is a cool character, a lot of fun action scenes, whatever. Just this past year, in 2021 alone, we've seen 3 different films with women in the lead roles that are essentially John Wick, right? Like we got this movie called Jolt on Amazon that is led by I'm pretty sure it's led by Kate Beckinsale. We got Gunpowder Milkshake, which to be fair looks a lot more stylized. I really like that. It looks like it has more of like a comedy lean on it, but that one also stars Karen Gillan, who I was talking about earlier. And then we just recently got this movie called Kate but starring Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And that's just ones where they're women in the lead roles. We also got Nobody earlier this year with Bob Odenkirk. And these are, 4 films that have come out in the span of half of a year that everybody has been comparing to John Wick, right? So like, like I'm saying, it's lack of originality, and then people in anything that is considered like original, it's studios taking Mary Elizabeth Winstead, putting her in a John Wick movie and calling it Kate, which I never liked the name John Wick. I don't like the name Kate. I think these are really boring names. I don't know why they call them just names. Like names of people, really? That's okay. All right. But yeah. So I don't know. I agree with Daniel Craig, but I also acknowledge that in today's Hollywood, it's hard to do that. So what I'll say is rather than people of color, women not getting any exposure at all on the scale of James Bond, it's probably better to, give them roles, have them be in roles such as 007 until Hollywood is ready to, make them original movies again, we're getting there. Then again, there's a whole other conversation to be had around like originality and how it plays out on streaming services, because like, I feel like streaming services are really like the future of like original content, like big film content, where it's like, we got the Queen's Gambit on Netflix, and we've got so many different shows, and and it's indie films and stuff like that coming out to streaming services, but especially those like miniseries and like TV shows. Those are like, I feel like those have taken the place of what in like older Hollywood they would call mid-budget movies. In Hollywood now, there's the big budget blockbusters like the Marvel movies, which all cost $100 to $200 million a movie to film, or there's like indie films that are made for like $5 million, right? And then there used to be mid-budget films, and occasionally there still is. But I feel like the slot where those mid-budget films would be are turning into like miniseries and such, on HBO, Netflix, stuff like that. So I think that's the future of more original, bigger budget content. Like I said, we've seen stuff like the Queen's Gambit. The Watchmen miniseries was blowing up. Right now there's like, it's actually really cool because we're actually getting a lot more exposure to like foreign stuff, because I like over the past few days alone, I've gotten this show from, it's like a Korean show. I forget what it's called. Oh my God. It's like, everybody's been recommending it to me. They're like saying it's like a surreal Korean Hunger Games. And it sounds really interesting. But that's on Netflix. That's like #1 on Netflix right now. Like you can see it on the charts. I forget what it's called, but it's there. But yeah. So we're I think any shift that's occurring is going to be there, I guess. Anyways, okay, I've talked about this long enough. So I've got my next little subject I'm going to talk about is poor Dear Evan Hansen is Dear Evan Hansen is it's a Broadway musical. It was huge. I never saw it. I've never listened to it. I haven't seen the movie yet. So I'm going into this blind. I don't even really know what the story's about. I know that Ben Platt looks like a zombie in the film just by looking at his makeup. That's the meme, right? Where like everybody's been making fun of how he looks, I guess. Not like how he himself looks, but how he looks in this ridiculous fucking makeup. This movie is it's flopping in the box office, and there's been a lot of talk in recent years about the future of Hollywood musicals. Lindsay Ellis talks about this a lot in her videos. She has her video on Cats, where she speculates a lot about like the future of musicals, and especially adapting Broadway musicals, because Cats was before. Well, no, actually, I was going to say Cats was the last Broadway musical to be adapted before Dear Evan Hansen. But In the Heights was the last major one to be adapted before Evan Hansen. And the funny thing about Dear Evan Hansen, In the Heights, and Cats is that they all flopped super hard at the box office. Nobody went and saw them. Do you remember when like In the Heights was supposed to be like the movie that brought back theaters? That like everybody was saying that, but it didn't. But unfortunate. I liked that movie. It was pretty good. But yeah, no. When I went, me and my partner went, there were some people in the theater, but when you look at the numbers, it just didn't go that well. Anyways, so we have this article here. Dear Evan Hansen looks like a box office flop, but it might have been a big streaming hit. That sounds interesting. I'm interested to hear more about how it could have been a streaming hit. It could have been Hamilton, which I don't know like like relative in like size, like how much bigger Hamilton was than Dear Evan Hansen. I don't know anything about the theater world. I think theater kids are really annoying, and I didn't like them very much, so I kind of stayed away from all of that. I like that sounds like such a dicky thing. I like musicals anytime I go see them, but I'm not a theater kid, so I don't know much about the world. Anyways, I know that Dear Evan Hansen was like huge when it came out, but like I don't know if it's like on the same size of like Hamilton. I don't think it is, just from my cultural knowledge of it. But anyways, point I'm making, the Hamilton film stage adaptation, or the filmed production of Hamilton came out on Disney Plus, and that got a bunch of streams. So, that did pretty well. We'll see how well the movie does next year. We'll see. You know what they need to stop doing? Because isn't this what happened with what's that movie? Rent. Isn't it the same thing that happened with Rent? Was all of the actors that were in the Broadway show came back and played their characters in the movie, but anytime there's a big Broadway show and they film a movie, the movie is filmed like 10 years, not actually 10 years, more like 5 years, like 5 years after the Broadway production wraps. So like all of these actors look a little too old to be playing their parts. So like we have Ben Platt and Dear Evan Hansen, which I guess it doesn't help that like the movie is like, obviously we get close-ups on his face, whereas like on a stage it's a lot easier to pull off being a teenager. But like in Ren, I remember hearing about like all the actors were coming back to play their roles, and like I think they're supposed to be playing like college age kids, but the actors clearly look like they're in their mid-30s. And then same thing with Hamilton. Maybe it won't make as much of a difference with Hamilton, since I guess the characters they're all playing are like the founding fathers, which when they were playing them on the stage, they were like 30, and the founding fathers were all like 100. I don't know. But yeah, whatever. Okay. Dear Evan Hansen. October promises to be the best month for box office since theaters reopened. After this weekend, it can't come quickly enough. The disappointment of Dear Evan Hansen and the absence of any other new wide releases contributed to a $39 million weekend. The lowest domestic take in 4 months and 41% of the same weekend in 2019. For context, that particular weekend was the weakest for September-December. With the opening days of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings still included in our 4-week rolling average of 2021, it falls to 61% compared to 2019. October should be better, or to be more precise, it needs to be considerably better. The lack of prime new films since the latest Marvel release is the main alibi for the overall weakness of September, but that changes next week. Shang-Chi remains number 1 in its 4th week, the first title to hold that claim since Tenet. It comes as the groundbreaking film passed 196 million as its domestic total, besting Marvel's Black Widow as the top domestic release this year. All credit to Shang-Chi, which received terrific audience reaction, theatrical exclusivity, and lack of competition. It looks to end up somewhere around 225 million, a figure that would have made it the number 10 film for 2019 behind 3 other Marvel releases that year. Wow, actually, I did not know Shang-Chi made that much money. Holy shit. That's a lot of money. Okay. Dear Evan Hansen could have been worse, with an A- cinema score that differs from its negative reviews, Metacritic 39. Initial estimates of 6.7 million gave way to a projected 7.5 million. The huge success of Mamma Mia and Les Miserables seem like another time. After Cats and In the Heights, the rush to transfer Broadway hits to screen looks unlikely to continue. Okay, yeah. Maybe I should stop reading articles if they're gonna make all my fucking points for me. All right, whatever. The Christmas release of West Side Story might prove an exception, but as an established classic and Steven Spielberg directing, even if its success might not change the equation, properties like Dear Evan Hansen may still have a future, but it's much more likely as a streaming project similar to Disney Plus capturing the stage performance of Hamilton. Oh my God. Okay. I really wonder if West Side Story is going to be a hit. I feel like it will be. People have a lot of nostalgia for that movie. Funny story about West Side Story. Okay, this is going to be a cringy one. I had a friend in high school, and when I think like one of the first times I hung out with this friend outside of school, I went to their house, and their mom met me, and their mom was like super into like musicals, just like Broadway musicals. Like their mom would just sing like, I don't know, like Hello Dolly and and like oh man, what's the other one with Hepburn? My Fair Lady. She would just sing like songs from those musicals like all day, and she would like bake and shit. I don't know. She was a cool mom. Anyways, the first time their mom ever met me, she asked, she was curious about, you know, my ethnic background, and so I told her, I was like, I'm Puerto Rican, and I didn't know until this point that a lot of people's first association with Puerto Ricans is West Side Story. So, and at that point, I hadn't seen West Side Story. I didn't know what it was. So, she was like, "Oh, who in your family is Puerto Rican?" I was like, "Oh, my mom." And she goes, "Oh, does she sing "I like to be an American"? Okay, let me in America. And I just started laughing nervously because I didn't know what the fuck she was singing. But anyways, yeah, little story about West Side Story. I ended up seeing it like a year or two later, and it's an amazing movie. I really like it, and that is a good song. I also sing "I Like to Be in America," so that's more of a private thing. That's just for me though. Shang-Chi dropped 39%, a decent hold. 4 other top 10 holdovers, 3 of which have home availability, held better. Free Guy. Okay, so I think I get the point here. Oh, maybe I don't. This is a long ass article. Okay, I shouldn't just say that, should I? Ooh, okay. Should we read the rest? Okay, Clint Eastwood's Cry Macho fell 52%. Car Shop. Oh, are they trying to say Cop Shop? I don't know a movie called Car Shop, but I saw a trailer for a movie that looked not good called Cop Shop. The Eyes of Tammy Faye landed at 11 and was off by only 5%. Okay, I'm noticing a lot of the movies that are coming out on VOD or like streaming aren't doing as good as the movies that are coming out strictly to theaters. So I think what, you know, propelled Shang-Chi so much is that it was the first Disney movie since the pandemic started to launch exclusively in theaters, which I mean, this article says, but same thing with Free Guy. Free Guy didn't go to any streaming service. It didn't come out on demand. It was only in theaters. And that also did really well. And I guess that doesn't look too good for Dear Evan Hansen, because I don't think Dear Evan Hansen also came out on a streaming service, or here, let's see. Dear Evan Hansen, because it'll tell us if we can like rent it on here, right? It'll say it right here. Yeah, see Showtimes. So yeah, I don't think you can rent it anywhere. So that it doesn't look really good for Dear Evan Hansen, because all these other movies that are making a ton of money are coming out exclusively in theaters, and so did this movie, but this movie's flopping. The the thing you can say about the other movies is, well, these other movies came out on, HBO Max or Netflix or Disney Plus at the same time that they released in theaters. So like In the Heights also released on HBO Max. Cry Macho also released on HBO Max. Actually, so I just saw the name Candyman in here. Candyman came out and it did really well in theaters, and that's also because it released exclusively in theaters. It didn't come out on any streaming service. Where at the same time, you had The Conjuring 3 that also came out on HBO Max come out in theaters, and that one didn't do very well in theaters. So, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, there's a way you can explain all of this away. Still, though, I don't think that gets to why nobody really wants to see musicals. Because even though you could say that for In the Heights, you can't really say that for Dear Evan Hansen or Cats. So we'll keep reading. Okay, this looks like just kind of a box office roundup, so we don't really need to get into all that. So what we really need to do is talk about Dear Evan Hansen. Do people not like musicals anymore? Is that what's going on? I know a lot of people, or I don't know. I've talked to a lot of people where if you bring up musicals around them, they like cringe, like they hate musicals. And people are like, man, I just can't wrap my head around the idea of like somebody's just like walking and talking and then they just start singing. It makes no sense. It's like it's a really difficult concept to like wrap your head around. Like, I feel like I've had this conversation so many times where it's like musicals just don't make any sense to me, man. It's like how do you sing but the movie's still just going on? Like, is everybody singing, or is it like is the singing not taking place within the world, but it's just their feelings, or like what's going on, man? Like, I just don't understand. And like, I don't know. It's I think for me it's so goofy because we're able to suspend disbelief for so many other things. Like, we can watch Doctor Strange and be like, yeah, this doctor is like has like magical powers and can like bend space, time, reality, fucking whatever. But we can't like accept somebody like singing in a film because it just like feels weird for them to like break out into song. I don't know, like it for me it's no weirder than breaking out into an alien fight in like Avengers or something. But okay, here we are. So people think that musicals are weird and they can't wrap their heads around it. I think honestly part of it is there's a thing in especially film culture where if you notice a lot of like big blockbuster films, the films that make like a ton of money are very self-aware. They're very self-referential. They're very and they're very afraid of like campiness. A lot of movies are afraid to be like really cheesy or campy or very earnest with their emotions. So like in a Marvel movie, you can't really just have a super emotional scene out of nowhere, right? Or just have a super emotional scene be a super emotional scene. Do you ever notice this when you're watching an MCU movie and you have a scene that's like going to be emotional and it's like it's or maybe even it is emotional until the very end of the scene they they what's the word I'm looking for, they like end the scene with like a joke, right? And it's always to get and what the joke is doing is it's getting the momentum of the movie going again, because the film can't be a film with like character arcs and people like growing and learning and whatever. I mean, it can give the illusion of that, but really what we need to do to make this the most entertaining, non-challenging thing is if we have an emotional scene, we need to reset the momentum of the film, right? It needs to be like a roller coaster ride where we can't stay in this dip for too long, because then people will just think it's like a fucking dip, right? like there's the attention span is too short. So we need to add in a joke, and then everybody laughs, and then we can like laugh off all that weird emotion shit we were feeling like 2 seconds ago. And then we get to all the fun stuff again. So I feel like that's like so many of our films, right? Like if you take a look at a lot of the bigger budget films that have been coming out over the past few months, like Free Guy or Space Jam, the newest Space Jam, or okay, this didn't come out in the past few months, but like it'll add to my example, so I'm breaking my own rules, whatever. Or you know, something like oh fuck, what was I gonna say? Whatever. Okay, let's just use those two movies. I had it and maybe it disappeared. So with like specifically like those two movies, right? We have movies where the entire premise is like the whole thing is like meta, right? Like in Space Jam, it's, you know, we had a movie that was popular in the 90s, you know, big part of a lot of people's childhood. It starred Michael Jordan, and it was Looney Tunes, whatever. It was like a fun movie. It wasn't like anything amazing. And then it kind of blew up, you know, again, you know, probably like a year or two ago, because of, you know, memes, right? Like, or all memeing, whatever. So they're like, oh, well, this property is pretty big again, so let's make a movie about it. So now we have LeBron James, you know, the current day biggest basketball player, and he's interacting with all the Looney Tunes again. But to add even more to it, this new one, so I've heard, I haven't seen it, he's also interacting with like all of Warner Brothers properties, right? So like you have like Wonder Woman, Rick and Morty, King Kong, like everybody that Warner Brothers owns makes like a cameo in this movie. And then like same thing with Free Guy, right? Like Free Guy is like essentially just Ryan Reynolds' personality, where it's just like the whole premise is that like, you know, he's an NPC in a video game that doesn't know he's in a video game, but then like I guess as the movie goes on, again, maybe I haven't seen yet, I guess as the movie goes on, he becomes more and more of himself being in a video game, and then like he starts to like break out of the video game, and then it gets into the real world, and then it gets like super meta, and you know, whatever. And so these are just to say that right now in pop culture, another great example is all of the superhero shows we see on TV right now, right? At least the big ones. So we have The Boys, we have Invincible, and we have others, I guess. My brain's a little fried right now. But okay, so like let's take these shows, right? These shows are commentaries on superhero shows or superhero movies, right? So like The Boys is, you know, if superheroes had social media and, you know, they played politics, blah blah blah, right? Invincible is, you know, what if Superman, but Superman was like an imperialist whatever, right? Like, or like Superman was like super evil, whatever. So these are all commentaries on things we know. Granted, I loved Invincible, still haven't seen The Boys yet. I've heard it's amazing. So I'm not saying these things are necessarily bad, but right now we're in a place culturally where everything has to be meta. Everything's like kind of a winking joke, little nod to something. We live in meme culture. Everything is a reference to something, right? You can't just have taking it all the way back to Broadway musicals. Musicals aren't like that. Like, I mean, they can be a little bit self-aware, but like inherently the act of like breaking out into song and like singing over this like orchestra, and like these characters have to be emoting, and it's big and it's whatever, it's too earnest. It's like, it's a little too cheesy. You know, it's and people don't like that right now. You know, it's just not in public favor. So if there's anything I had to contribute, you know, if there's anything I would say is making the Hollywood musical suffer, it's that. Now, I think that musicals can thrive if they're like fucking weirdo, whacked out musicals. So like kind of like the idea of like the anti-musical. So like, you know, obviously we have people who like, and myself included, who like love Rocky Horror Picture Show, or you know, Willy Wonka, stuff like that. Where like those aren't necessarily musicals in the same way as like your big musicals like Dear Evan Hansen, or you know, Cats or whatever, right? Or like I mean, this isn't necessarily a musical, but it's, you know, a music thing that people have really enjoyed, you know, is Bo Burnham's Inside, right? Like that is something where every song is pretty self-aware, right? Like he's doing every song with like, now granted he's a comedian, so you know, his songs are going to be a little bit different than like your average Broadway show, but like it's stuff like that. Or maybe an even better example is so like movies like Sing Street. If you watch Sing Street, all of the musical sequences in that are like being sung in the movie on a stage, right? So even if it is like a bigger musical sequence and it's not necessarily happening the same way that it's being presented in the film, in the like life of the movie, I hope that's not too confusing as I say it, but like any like musical sequence in that is actually happening in the movie to like some extent. So like the main character, no matter what the film is presenting us as viewers, is still singing in the context of the story. So people are a lot more accepting of that because it makes them stretch their tiny imaginations a little bit less. And sorry, that was mean. It's just a little less work that you have to do in order to suspend disbelief for the musical. Okay, that was a long-winded talk. I'm gonna make it a goal to shorten my little speeches. I feel like I'm getting pretty long-winded here. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is I don't know if I'll have like a ton to say about this other than just like being really excited for it. The trailer for Paul Thomas Anderson's new movie Licorice Pizza came out, and I think it looks really cool. I love Paul Thomas Anderson. Oh, and a lot of Haim stars in it. I had no idea. I didn't know she acted. I know Haim, the like group, because isn't it her and her two sisters? They're like, they make the country rock and roll music. I think they do. I really like them. I listened to their most recent album. I don't like know them super well, but I liked the music that I heard. But yeah, it was really cool. Anyways, I don't know. I always get excited to see like, I don't know, musicians, you know, do acting for the first time, or maybe not for the first time, but like on a major scale for the first time. So like Lady Gaga was really exciting to see. I'm trying to think of like any other music people who like started acting while I've been into film. I don't know. I could probably think of some others if at some other point. Anyways, I'm excited to see her. I had no idea she was a lead in this movie. I had no idea she was even in the movie. I knew that Cooper Hoffman was because there was a lot of you know, stuff going around of you know, he's the son of the late actor Philip Seymour Hoffman, who was a frequent collaborator of Paul Thomas Anderson. He was in Punch Drunk Love and The Master, and he was also in Magnolia. He might have been in one or two other things. I can't remember, but those are the three I can remember. Philip Seymour Hoffman was a super talented actor. Also just like very interesting choices as an actor. Like his role in Paul Thomas Anderson's stuff has always been really interesting. I remember one movie specifically he did called Happiness by Todd Solondz. That was like a really interesting performance. The movie is like dark, it's fucked up, it's the opposite of the title. And his role is that all of everybody's role in that movie is pretty dark and fucked up. But it's what I really respected about him was that he was just a really interesting actor. He made a lot of interesting choices as an actor, which, if there's one thing in like the world of film I get like mega disappointed by, it's when like somebody is super talented but they waste their talent on things, okay, granted this is a personal thing, but things I consider boring, right? So like I think that Barry Jenkins is one of the most talented directors working right now. I think he's an amazing person. I'm still watching The Underground Railroad. I watch like one episode a month. But I was like so disappointed to learn that the next project he was working on was a sequel to the live action Lion King movie. Like what a waste, right? Like that means I won't be able to see an actual, movie I care about from him for at least another like 4 years. Which is just, yeah, that's annoying. So where was I even going with this? I'm excited for Licorice Pizza. Cooper Hoffman. We'll see if he's a good actor. I don't know. So let's see what this article has to say about it. Does it have to say anything? Oh, I guess it's just like announcing that there's a trailer. I don't know if I can show the trailer on stream. I don't know if I can like watch it or anything. Okay. Paul Thomas Anderson has directed music videos for Haim. So, okay. I guess that would explain like how he knows her. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Twitch's rules are on watching trailers. So I'll just keep this one short and sweet. I'm really excited for this movie. Really excited to see Alana Haim act. I'm excited to see Cooper Hoffman too. Benny Safdie is going to be acting in this. And the only thing, I never saw Pieces of a Woman. I was scared to watch it. I know it's like a super fucking heavy movie, and I just, since it came out, it's just one of those I've been meaning to get around to. I just haven't. But I really liked his performance in Good Time. That's the one everybody knows him from. So he was amazing in that movie, and so I'm excited to see him act again. It'll be cool to see him, especially acting in somebody else's movie, because Good Time, it was him and his brother that directed it. So and then Bradley Cooper, Sean Penn, Tom Waits is somebody I'm always super happy to see in something. I don't know if his segment in The Ballad of Buster Scruggs was my absolute favorite, but it was definitely one of my favorites. It might be. I'd have to think about the segments in that movie again. And then Bradley Cooper looks like he has a fun role in this. I know he's playing like a real guy, and by a real guy, I mean somebody who like exists in real life. So that'll be cool. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm excited to see this movie. Okay. On to the next thing. This will probably be my last topic. Okay. I'm excited for this. So I guess background. I saw the first, extra background, because I keep forgetting that anybody who will see this doesn't know who I am. So Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters of all time. I grew up watching Spider-Man, all the Spider-Man movies with like Tobey Maguire. I watched the cartoon, the one with like spider blood, like that one. And I played the video game, specifically the PlayStation 1 video game, where the whole thing opens with like Stan Lee's voice being like, New York, I don't know. And anyways, big fan of Spider-Man. I would dress up as him all the time. I had a little fucking digital camera. I would like take pictures of shit around the house and like call myself Peter Parker, like a photographer. None of them were good, but I did it. So, yeah. Anyways, Spider-Man means a lot to me, and I really like him. And Venom was always one of my favorite villains. I always thought the character. First of all, the character design was always like really cool because like he was always like really creepy and scary, but in a way that's like digestible to a kid. He's like, for like 6-7-year-old me, he was like creepy, but like he wasn't like too creepy. He was pretty in that like sweet spot. Same thing with like Carnage. Carnage was like, like the edgier Venom, I got into him when I was like a little bit older. Anyways, I saw the first Venom movie, when it came out in theaters with my little siblings, and I liked it. It was really fun. I thought that Tom Hardy's performance was like weird and whacked out, but like. That's kind of what I love about Tom Hardy is he's always just like, he always puts on like a weird ass voice. He always makes some like really interesting choices with whatever character he's playing. It's just interesting fella, I guess. Anyways, so it's saying here that the first Venom, Let There Be Carnage, social reactions call it absurd, violent, and romantic. Which is super exciting for me. I'm really happy to hear that because that's what I want from a Venom movie. While the first one, like I thought Tom Hardy's performance, essentially with the Venom movie, anything revolving around Tom Hardy, so like his central like performance, I thought was interesting because he's an interesting person. But anything that was happening outside of that was like super run of the mill, like kind of boring, just whatever superhero movies stuff, right? So the first movie was directed by Ruben Fleischer, who has made movies such as Zombieland. I think it was like 30 Minutes or Less, I think is the other one. He also did Gangster Squad, and I'm trying to remember what else he did. Anyway, I mean, Zombieland's probably his biggest movie. But so he directed the first movie. And then Andy Serkis, who's known for playing Gollum in the Lord of the Rings movies, and Caesar in the Planet of the Apes movies, and essentially just being like the go-to person for mocap performances. He directed the second Venom, which I thought was a really interesting choice. But even more interesting a choice. And what made me excited about this, besides it being Venom and Carnage in a movie, Carnage for the first time ever being in a movie, is the fact that it's written by Tom Hardy. Like, they let him write a Venom movie. That's so cool. Because I know that he just had like, I don't know, some really cool ideas about the character. So I'm assuming that when these the reactions call it absurd, violent, and romantic, I'm going to take a guess and say that a lot of those reactions were Tom Hardy's doing from his contributions to the script. So let's take a gander. Okay, let me just take a breath real quick. Okay, I'm ready. We only have a couple of days before Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, which, oh my god, at first I hated that name, but it's been growing on me. Let There Be Carnage. It's just so... It's like dumb, but it's dumb in a really fun way. I don't know. I like it. Unleashes the carnage on theaters, and Sony Pictures has finally started screening the film for critics and journalists, which means we have our first wave of reactions to the upcoming Sony Spider-Man Universe, or SSMU, superhero movie. By the way, I should let you know, I don't take this movie like that seriously. Like, so even though I'm going into it with, even though I'm going into it with the expectation of like loving it, it's more like loving it in like a fun way, right? Like, I don't know if this is going to be like the movie, right? Like, just so you know, like, I don't know if I'm going to, like, this is going to be like top 10 favorites of the year or any shit like that. Like, I'm just expecting to have a lot of fun watching it. Okay. Exclusively theaters on October 1st. The film is directed by Andy Serkis with a script by Kelly Marcel. 50 Shades of Grey. The film stars Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, a former journalist turned host to an alien parasitic symbiote that calls himself Venom. Sequel to spread. Okay. I think we get all that. Hardy seems to be very involved in the sequel, sharing a story by credit. Okay, so I guess he didn't write the script; he did a story. So he came up. He was. Here, actually, let's see what IMDb says here. So it looks like Kelly Marcel wrote the script while Tom Hardy did the story to the movie. Is that? Yes. Okay. So IMDb says that Tom Hardy did the story, which means he like essentially like decide, plot points, stuff like that, like what overall happens in the movie, and then Kelly Marcel wrote the screenplay, so like the line by line stuff like that. So that's really cool. Let's keep going. Rounding up the cast are Naomi Harris as Spider-Man villain Shriek. I never read a comic with Shriek in it, but I know her from the Spider-Man ride at Universal Studios, and she is one of the scariest parts of that ride. So, now with Sony's next wave of superhero movies on the horizon, it's time to find out what the critics thought. Does Harrelson's new wig surpass the craziness of the original? Do Venom and Eddie make out again? Does Hardy deliver another scene as bonkers as the lobster one from the first film? More importantly, is there enough carnage in the movie? Check out some of the early reactions below. We'll keep updating as more continue to come in. Okay, I guess for anybody who like really cares about this stuff, spoilers possibly, like, I don't know. Did Venom and Eddie make out in the first movie? I've heard some shit about there being like a relationship in this one. I saw like a headline where it was like Venom and Eddie Brock, which I think is really fun. Okay. Venom, Let There Be Carnage is a wild-ass movie of the highest order. Ultra-violent rom-com that is delightfully self-aware and weird. Tom Hardy gives 200%. Whatever you do, don't miss the post-credits. Another thing I've been hearing is the post-credits for this movie are really wild. I think I know what they, sadly, because of, again, like headlines and, just context clues, I think I know what the post-credits are going to be about, but I'm still excited to see them. I love that people are calling it a rom-com. I'm so excited for this. And again, okay, with what I was talking about earlier, delightfully self-aware. Like, it's kind of, that's the thing in today's Hollywood. I don't think you could have a Venom movie that just like plays it straight, like the original, the first one did that probably more so. I haven't seen this one, but I'm going to assume that the first one's going to be more of a cookie cutter, movie. But even, it doesn't even, like, when I say like plays it straight, I guess I don't even mean cookie cutter. I mean, like, if they really took Venom and like, let's say like they treated Venom with like the seriousness of like The Dark Knight. I don't think that we culturally are interested in much of that right now. Like, I don't think we'd want like a really genuinely like super emotional Venom movie. I think we want the weird rom-com violent Venom movie where Tom Hardy's holding a rooster in this screenshot, so I don't know. Venom Let There Be Carnage is absolute insanity. Carnage looks better than I could have dreamed as a kid growing up reading these comics. That is so exciting to hear because Carnage always had such a cool design. In that PlayStation 1 game I mentioned earlier with Stan Lee doing the voiceover in the very beginning, I always quit right at the end. And keep in mind, in order for me to quit, that means I had to play through the whole game because I didn't have a memory card for my PlayStation 1. So if I wanted to get to the end of the game, I had to play it through all in one sitting. So this was like, I mean, I think at that point games were a little shorter, but like that would have been at least like 4 or 5 hours of just like straight playing the game before I could get to the end. But I would always quit on the last boss fight because the last boss in that game is where Carnage, the symbiote for Carnage, takes over Doc Ock. So it's Dr. Octopus with the Carnage symbiote. And the boss fight is like him chasing you through these like tunnels and like some sort of like laboratory or like facility or something. And like, I don't know, he just chases you and it looks really scary. And I quit every time. So that's a story from my life. Tom Hardy is having the time of his life, and Andy Serkis flexes those mocap and CGI muscles to give us truly intense and visceral symbiote battles. That's really cool. Yeah, that's why they brought Andy Serkis, huh? I guess he has a deep what? Elijah, would you like to serve chow to 1,000 sailors? I don't know what the fuck that means. Anyways, but yeah, what was I even saying? Oh my god, that completely threw me off. So I guess Andy Serkis is totally doing his thing here, huh? Venom Let There Be Carnage. My gosh, these movies are so stupid, and I can't help how much I enjoy them. I could watch 10 more movies of Eddie and Venom calling each other losers. There's a scene where Eddie and Venom are laying out on the beach together, and they watch the sunset. Why does this sound like my favorite movie ever? Okay, so you know that thing I said about this movie not being in my top 10? I take that back. It might be in my top 10 movies of the year. I think I might like it better than The Green Knight. We'll see. What this reminds me of is those Resident Evil movies with Mila Jovovich. I think that was her name. Those movies were stupid, very dumb, stupid, bad movies, but I loved them. They were so good, and I really had fun watching them. That's how I feel like I'm gonna feel here. Venom Let There Be Carnage embraces the absurd buddy romance from the first film even more. Andy Serkis keeps the action and humor moving quickly, even if it doesn't always land. Tom Hardy's gonzo performance is still a highlight, while Woody Harrelson relishes every sadistic moment. That's cool to hear. Also, again, we're seeing the action and humor moving quickly, right? Like, so, he's saying that the movie is an hour and 30 minutes. That is a short movie, especially for a superhero movie. Like, I mean, recently they've been okay with these movies being a little bit longer. Like, you had, I mean, granted, it's the Avengers, but it's like 3 hours long. But like, I think the upcoming Spider-Man movie is like, it's going to be like 2.5 hours long. So, yeah. So, keeping it moving, right? This would be a great one for like, I feel like kids. Like, I feel like maybe not like kids, but like probably kids my like little siblings age will like really enjoy this because it's like short enough to where they like aren't getting like fucking antsy in the theater. But like it looks really fun. When it comes to Venom Let There Be Carnage, it's simple. Did you like the first one? You'll like this one. Not like the first one? That's how you'll feel here. It's the bigger, faster version of the first movie, which I enjoyed and instantly forgot about. Fun, frivolous. Okay, that's cool. Like I said earlier, I liked the first one, but to hear this one is like the bigger one. Okay, I don't know. Oh, okay, there's only one more left. Okay. Venom Let There Be Carnage has some really entertaining and charming moments, particularly between Eddie and Venom, which is still a super fun dynamic, but the movie gets a bit lost in the carnage of it all. There's too many ideas, and the movie just barrels through the mess to the end. I don't agree. I haven't even seen the movie. This person's wrong. I'm just kidding. They're not wrong. They're probably correct. The movie definitely is messy. Like, just from it being like a very large studio movie with like a lot of hands in the pot. Like, I don't think we've gotten a Spider-Man movie that like isn't a little bit messy for like a very long time. Maybe if not ever. I don't know. I like to think that those first two were pretty non-messy. But yeah, looking forward to this movie. I'll probably go see it when it comes out. But I don't know. Yeah, I think that's all I have for, you know, my thing here. I don't know if there's much more for me to talk about. Okay, Yikes Factory. What does this mean? Hey, Elijah, would you like to serve chow to 1,000 sailors? Is this like a bot message? I feel like that's what it would have to be, right? I don't know if like a person would just like write this, right? Especially because I'm talking about all this really cool stuff. You don't want to ask me questions about the cool stuff I'm talking about? You know, I don't know. Well. Trying to think of anything else I want to possibly talk about here. I don't know. Is there here? We'll go to IMDb real quick and we'll scroll through the news column. See what else we can pick up here. If there's anything else to commentate about. You know. I did like a test stream a couple days ago. I'm feeling much better this time around. Okay, No Time to Die targets 90 million. Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard about like early reactions to No Time to Die, the newest Bond movie, to kind of go back to Bond. They're saying that it's a really emotional send-off for Daniel Craig, and that it's like really cool, it's really epic. I'm really excited to see that too, especially because Rami Malek is playing a Bond villain, and Bond villains are always so cool to see. And I love Rami Malek, and I'm like really interested to see what he does with like a Bond villain. Okay, The Boys spinoff ordered at Amazon. I feel like I would have more to say about that if I saw The Boys. Let's see. Box office milestone. Shang-Chi becomes highest grossing domestic pick of the pandemic era. That's not surprising. The Witcher renewed for season 3. That's cool. Warner Media CEO Jason Kilar is disappointed he will probably lose his job. Oh no. Why is Jason Kilar losing his job? Okay, we'll see what this is about. Jason Kilar, currently CEO of Warner Media, admitted that he feels disappointed that he will likely be out of a job within a year. AT&T is in the midst of spinning off Warner Media into to combine it with Discovery, a deal expected to close in mid-2022, depending regulatory approvals. Kilar has told staffers that he expects to stay at Warner Media at least through early 2022. Kilar, speaking to Vox Media's Code conference, said that the Warner Media CEO job goes away once the Discovery transaction closes. Asked if he was disappointed that he won't have the chance to continue leading the media conglomerate, Kilar responded, "I'm human, so in that context, yes." He declined to discuss what his next venture might be. Okay. So this is like media companies like merging, I guess, and he's losing his job because of that, which sucks. I mean, not that I'm like particularly invested in, like, I mean, you know, it sucks that he's losing his job. I'm sure he'll be able to find something. He is a CEO of Warner Media. Okay, I don't really feel bad. But what sucks about this story in general is that more, you know, media companies are merging and being acquired, and, you know, all of that, which, you know, all of us know about the, you know, the Disney acquisition of Fox. And so as more and more media companies merge and are acquired by bigger ones, there's just going to be less and less media, you know, to be produced. And, you know, whatever media is produced will be in the hands of fewer people. And yeah, so you'll have much more of, you know, a monopoly in the, you know, media empire, as, you know, Warner Media and Disney and, you know, whoever else continue to acquire more and more stuff. So, you know, this is just the one small story in a larger story of like mergers and acquisitions and all that. Because, like, look, I mean, even here, right, on the sides, we have Reservation Dogs, which honestly looks like a really cool show. But it's streaming FX on Hulu. Well, Hulu is owned by Disney, and Disney bought out Fox, which did own FX. And so now Disney is, you know, giving us this Reservation Dogs show. So, you know, I don't know. I don't like to think about, well, not that, I don't know. It's just, it's frustrating to think about how like so much of what we consume is in the hands of like so few people, right? Like there's so many, there's a very small amount of people who get to, you know, decide on, you know, what we consume and, you know, what is popular in the moment, right? So like, that Reservation Dogs is probably some of the, you know, probably the biggest representation we've seen of, you know, indigenous people in film media for quite a while. You know, because we have films that show stuff like that, but like show people in those spaces, but like, you know, a lot of those films are you know, indie films or whatever, and you know, this show is, you know, FX on Hulu, so it's, you know, widely seen by a lot of people, but the, you know, the people that get to dictate essentially what we see on these, you know, programs, you know, they still get to decide what's seen and what's not seen, you know. Don't get me wrong, I'm very happy that this show exists, right? I'm happy that there's more representation. I just wish that there were more companies or more, you know, outlets that are able to give representation on that mass scale, right? I hope that it's not always just like these tiny independent films portraying, you know, indigenous people, and then like occasionally we get a show from Disney. You know, I hope that we get you know, more people being able to produce things that can be the same size as, you know, whatever Disney produces, and they don't necessarily have to own all of the media, you know. So I don't want to sound like conspiratorial or anything, because I don't think that, you know, people who like produce these things are like evil or anything. I think, you know, we're all humans. We're all producing what we care about and what we want to see. So even though something is produced by Disney, is owned by Disney, that doesn't mean that there isn't genuine passion going into whatever that thing is, right? It's just, you know, it's complicated. Anyways, I'm rambling. Okay. Probably gonna Probably gonna cut it. It's been fun. I don't know if anybody's watching. I have my viewers turned off so that way I won't get like really insecure about it or whatever. So not I don't think it would bother me too much, maybe. Let's see. Oh, I have one viewer. Okay, I'm gonna turn it off again. Okay, so that way I don't think about it. All right.